have you with us today. I think you're going to enjoy this. I really do, because, well, just stick around and you'll find out. Now, my passion, you all have passions. My passion is worship, getting it right, getting worship right, restoring the true meaning of worship in our lives. And so that's what I'm going to talk about, okay? And the subject today is religion profitable for nothing. What's that, John? That's the subject, religion profitable for nothing. Let me ask you this question, okay? Is it easy to change a lifetime of worship? What about that? Is it easy to change the habits that make your life every day? Well, you're going to say, certainly not. We've all heard it very well about that. Our lives are built on habits. A religion is built on habits, right? It really is. Our worship is built on habits. It really is. Our worship of God is built on very strong, lasting habits. Habits make life easy. Otherwise, we'd have to be struggling about everything we do. Some of them have good aspects. However, we need to check out our habits, and that's what I want to talk about. There's stuff in Jeremiah's prophecy. There's stuff there about habits that God wanted checked in the life of the people of Judah. And it's a story about a linen sash. You know what a linen sash is? We don't wear them anymore today. But in those days, a linen sash was worn by respectable people. It was made of cloth, and it was wound around the center part of the body, around the waist. And it was a sign of a person's position and his status, okay? And so, Jeremiah, or God told Jeremiah a story about the sash. Now here's the story. God said to Jeremiah, get a sash. Okay, God, I'll get a sash. And then God said to Jeremiah, take that sash and put it on your body and see how it feels. Wow. Now take it off, and I want you to go up to the Euphrates, and that was a river, an ancient river at that time, and I want you to find a hole in a rock, and I want you to bury it there. What? Yes, bury it there. And so Jeremiah did what God told him, buried it in a hole in the rock in the river. A little while later, God said to him, now go back there and get the sash. Well, poor Jeremiah was looking what was going on here? But anyway, he went up and he picked up the sash, and when he got the sash out of the river, and he held it in his hand, what was it? It was ruined. It was dirty, it was filthy, it was wet, it was no longer any use for him. And this is what God said. The sash is ruined, Jeremiah. And this is the message of the sash for you and the people of Judah. It's profitable for nothing. What's not profitable? Then the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah and said, I will ruin the pride of Judah. And I'm just now reading from the 13th chapter of Jeremiah. God said, I'll ruin the pride of Judah and the pride of Jerusalem. This evil people who refuse to hear my word, who follow the dictates of their hearts, and worship me and worship other gods, shall be just like this sash. They shall be profitable for nothing. Now what does this all mean? What is God trying to say? Sash was a metaphor for their worship, the way they worship God. It reflected their very life and their very pride in the way they worship God. God meant the sash to signify that they were to cling to Him, because in the beginning the sash was made to cling, and God was saying, hey, I will cling to you as my people, I will bless you, I will save you, I will restore you. But instead of that, the sash was thrown into the river and discarded. Worship wasn't a routine habit, it's a relationship with God. And that's the point that Jeremiah, through God, was trying to make, was this sash represented the worship of God, that they ought to be living their lives in obedience to God. Instead of that, they were disobeying Him, and they were, as it were, they were throwing their sash into the river where it was ruined. Now, in this statement, Jeremiah, or God says to Jeremiah, what's wrong is that they were following the dictates of their hearts. Now, what does that mean for you and me today? following the dictates of our hearts. Their worship was focused on what they felt they would make them feel better. It was focused upon how it would help them with their self-fulfillment and their self-satisfaction. And so instead of focusing on God and building a relationship of trust and obeisance and loving kindness to Him, they were really centering it upon themselves. Is that any different from us today? I want to ask you, because most of you who are listening today are frequent worshipers. You're going to worship because you love God. The hymns that you enjoy and the lyrics that you sing, they're the ones that please you, right? And you go to that church because they're the ones that make you feel good about yourself. What about the forms and styles of worship? Is that why you're going to the church? Not because there you're building a clean relationship to the Father, but there you're enjoying how you feel about yourself and your relationship to those forms and styles. So much of our worship revolves around ourselves rather than around God. Worship, genuine worship, is clinging to God as the sash clings to the body. Gospel describes our clinging to Christ as our participation with Christ. We participate with Christ in His obedience and obeisance to the Father. And His obeisance becomes our obeisance. We participate with Christ in His resurrection, in His self-denial, in our self-denial, and in our overcoming sin. We participate in His resurrection because we live in the power of His risen life alive in us. And we participate in His glorification when we enter into the fullness of His glory. So, what we're talking about is religion profitable for nothing? If what this scripture says is true, if our religion is based upon meeting our own needs rather than building a relationship to God through Christ and in the Spirit, then it's profitable for nothing. But God has given us the marvelous opportunity that through Jesus, through taking part in His obeisance to the Father and His resurrection and His crucifixion, we can cling forever to Him. God bless you, and seek first a genuine feeling of obeisance to God. Thank you.